Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
Denver, we need to talk. Because while everybody else in the AFC is busy tripping over their own shoelaces, your Broncos are sitting back with a glass of orange and blue Kool-Aid, laughing, not gloating. Laughing. Because right now, somewhere in a football facility in Foxborough, there is chaos brewing that has nothing to do with X's and O's and everything to do with greed, ego, and a front office that waited 1 year too long to write a check. Meanwhile, out in Kansas City, a team that couldn't even sniff the playoffs last season just watched its own defense get dismantled piece by piece because they made the exact same mistake. And Denver did the opposite. Denver did it early. Denver did it smart. And today, we are diving into exactly how this franchise turned pay guys before you have to into a full-blown philosophy, and why it is about to make the Broncos the last team standing while two of their biggest rivals implode in real time. Before we get into the wreckage happening in New England and Kansas City, hit that like button. Drop a comment with your prediction for how this all shakes out, and subscribe if you haven't already, because Broncos is about to break down exactly how loyalty, timing, and a little bit of front office genius are turning this Broncos roster into the model franchise of the entire NFL. Let's start with the theme, because once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Ever since the richest ownership group in professional sports took over in Denver, the front office has operated on one simple rule: get ahead of the deal before the player even has to ask. It sounds simple. It is not simple. Almost no organization in this league actually has the discipline to do it. But Denver has now done it 4 off seasons in a row, and the results speak for themselves. 0 holdouts. 0 contract disputes. 0 drama. In a league built on ego and leverage, that is almost unheard of. Look at what happened with Courtland Sutton. His peers around the league just voted him the 68th best player in all of professional football, which, if you know anything about wide receiver money, should have made him one of the most expensive holdouts of the summer. Instead, he signed a 4-year deal worth $92 million, and by every reasonable measure, that number looks like an absolute discount compared to what he's actually produced on the field. He didn't pout. He didn't skip camp. He showed up because he trusts the people running this organization, and that trust has been earned. It is not a one-man trend. Zach Allen got paid before the market could catch up to him. Quinn Miners got locked up as one of the best guards in football before other teams could even start making calls. And then there's the Patrick Surtain situation, which might be the single greatest heist in recent Broncos history. When Surtain signed his extension, people around the league thought Denver got away with one. Then, the very next season, Surtain was playing like a top 5 corner in all of football while getting paid like the 5th highest corner at his position. Most players in that situation start making noise. Surtain didn't, and instead of letting him sit there underpaid and frustrated, the Broncos front office did something almost nobody does anymore. They went back and gave him extra money he wasn't even due yet, just because it was the right thing to do. No holdout threat, no agent leaking stories to the media, just an organization taking care of a guy who's taken care of them. Now flip the camera 3 states east, because the contrast could not be more jarring. Christian Gonzalez, the Patriots' young cornerback, has reportedly been a no-show at organized team activities and minicamp sessions, and Boston media has not been shy about how serious this situation is becoming. One well-known Boston sports journalist went on air and called it a legitimately scary situation for the organization. The kind of thing that can quietly poison a locker room before a single snap of the regular season is even played. And here's the part that should really sting for Patriots fans. Gonzalez isn't even operating on Patrick Surtain's level. We got a real look at that during a joint practice, when a backup quarterback with barely a week of practice reps under his belt and a third-string wide receiver combined to torch Gonzalez on a deep route, getting so wide open it looked like a coverage bust straight out of a walkthrough. A few plays later, in zone coverage, the same cornerback appeared to be part of the confusion that left another Broncos receiver standing alone with nobody within 10 yards of him. This is a player holding out for more money against a team that, by all accounts, has already been more than fair with him. Compare that to Surtain, a legitimate top-tier corner who never once threatened to sit out. And the gap in professionalism becomes impossible to ignore. But the dysfunction in New England doesn't stop with one disgruntled cornerback. This is a franchise that spent years selling the idea that it was built on team-first culture, on brotherhood, on doing whatever it takes for the guys in the locker room. And then, the wheels came off in the most public way possible. Reports have surfaced of a years-long affair involving the head coach, allegedly beginning while his wife was pregnant, involving a woman connected to the media landscape that covers the team. If there is any truth to suggestions that inside information passed through that relationship, or that it had any bearing on awards voting or personnel decisions, the exposure for that franchise doesn't stop at embarrassing headlines. It could mean real, tangible discipline from the league office, fines, and potentially draft capital on the line. There is nothing team-first about putting the organization in that kind of jeopardy. It is the exact opposite of everything that culture claimed to stand for. And then there's the wide receiver room, where the Patriots brought in a genuine star this offseason, only to inherit every bit of the diva reputation that came with him. Reports out of Philadelphia painted a picture of a receiver who wanted out badly enough that he or people close to him made sure that desire found its way into the local media, applying public pressure until the front office had no choice but to move him. It is about as far from the Courtland Sutton or Jalen Waddle model as you can get. Sutton shows up, does his job, and lets his production speak. Waddle, since coming over to Denver, has brought that exact same demeanor. No leaks, no drama, no manufactured trade requests. Even league legends have weighed in publicly, essentially shrugging and saying wide receiver drama is as old as the game itself. Maybe so, but it does not have to be your team's drama, and right now, it isn't Denver's. Now let's talk about Kansas City, because if New England is a cautionary tale about culture and character, Kansas City is a cautionary tale about pure roster math. This is a team that failed to make the playoffs last season and somehow still found a way to get worse on defense. According to their own local reporting, they lost Trent McDuffie, they lost Jalen Watson, they lost a starting safety, and they lost Leo Chenal, gutting a unit that was already showing cracks. Had that front office done what Denver has done, locking up your foundational pieces early, before the market resets the price, none of that talent walks out the door. Instead, they waited. The price kept climbing every single offseason, and eventually it climbed so high they simply could not afford to keep the group together. The most painful part is what it cost them moving forward. Instead of using premium draft capital to add a game-changing weapon for their franchise quarterback, they were forced to spend a first-round pick just trying to patch a cornerback hole, and by most honest evaluations, the player they got still isn't as good as the one they lost. That is the tax you pay for waiting. Yesterday's price is never today's price, and in the NFL, that gap only grows. This is exactly the point that Denver's head coach made in a press conference not long ago, when he said that only a handful of front offices in this league actually have the level of organizational competence required to win a Super Bowl, and that Denver is one of them. He made a point of saying that what it takes to win changes over time. Just because a franchise has hoisted a trophy in the past does not mean the current version of that organization still has what it takes. Ownership groups evolve, some for the better, some for the worse, and right now it is hard to argue that New England or Kansas City are trending in the right direction. And look, if you stripped away all the orange and blue bias and just looked at this as a neutral football analyst, the conclusion is still the same. The Patriots are not positioned to compete for a title next season, not with this level of locker room instability. The Chiefs are not positioned to compete either, not after gutting a defense that took years to build. Realistically, there are teams in the AFC that look more dangerous right now than either of those two, and neither one of them is anywhere near the level of a roster like the Los Angeles Rams. The gap has genuinely widened that much. Meanwhile, back in Denver, the front office isn't just avoiding disaster, it's actively setting up the next wave of smart, early extensions. Somehow, this team is heading into the summer with more cap space available than it had heading into free agency, which is almost unheard of for a roster this talented. Keep an eye on names like Marvin Mims, Brandon Jones, and Riley Moss. Because if recent history tells us anything, at least one or two of those guys is getting a new deal before the market forces Denver's hand. The exact same blueprint that's already worked with Sutton, Allen, Miners, and Surtain. And that's not even mentioning how team-friendly the Zach Allen extension looks in hindsight, arguably one of the most team-friendly deals on the entire roster. So here's the real question, and I want you to drop your answer in the comments right now. Out of Marvin Mims, Brandon Jones, Riley Moss, and the rest of that pending free agent class, which two do you think Denver locks up first? And more importantly, which one of those guys is the one you simply cannot stomach watching walk out the door in free agency? Because if this front office's track record means anything, at least two of those names are going to be wearing orange and blue for years to come, and the rest of the AFC is going to be left wondering how Denver keeps doing this year after year. While New England deals with holdouts and headlines that have nothing to do with football, and Kansas City tries to patch a defense that never should have fallen apart in the first place, the Broncos keep doing the boring, disciplined, unglamorous work of paying the right guys at the right time. It isn't flashy. It doesn't trend on social media the way scandal does. But it wins. And if this pattern holds, Denver isn't just going to be in the conversation next season. It is going to be the team every other AFC front office wishes they had built. That's the story today, Broncos faithful, and it is a genuinely great time to be a fan of this team. If you enjoyed this breakdown, smash that like button. Tell us in the comments which two free agents you're begging the front office to re-sign. And if you haven't subscribed to Broncos yet, now is the time, because this offseason is about to get even more interesting. And you do not want to miss a single update. Until next time, keep believing, because the ball don't lie.